Hi, today's question is from Root. So I'm back here on discoveringyourcosmicself.com. We are engaging every day in expanding our awareness. Most people are sending in questions from this book, You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters. So I encourage you to come on the site discoveringyourcosmicself.com and engage with us on these conversations that hopefully are expanding our awareness together. Okay, so today's question is from Root, R-O-O-T, Root. And Root asks, could we use the idea that self-power behaves as a wave function, and once we put our attention on it, it can manifest as a particle? Okay, first of all, it's always kind of dicey when we try and use metaphors from one system of thought and try to apply them to another system of thought. So for now, let's not talk about wave function or particle, just let's talk about the first part of your question, which has to do with self-power. Okay, so over the years in my writings, I have made the distinction between what is called agency power and self-power. So agency power is power that you get from an agency. So the agency could be a lot of money. The agency could be a title, the CEO of the company, or the agency could be the people that you can influence, or the influential people that you know. Okay, so these are all agencies, and you derive your power to fulfill your desires basically through agencies, whether it's money or influence peddling or cronyism or corruption or just some agency, money, okay, influences, titles. That kind of power is relatively weak, because even if you do get what you want through the agency, that is the source of your power, the power will be taken away when you no longer have that agency. So generally people who exercise agency power are always fearful of losing that power, and therefore they live in fear. What is self-power? Self-power comes from your innermost being. Self-power comes from your true self, which is, of course, the field of all possibilities, which is your true self, which is connected to all that exists, which is the source of self-organization, self-regulation, evolution, creativity, what we call synchronicity or non-local correlation. So when you have that kind of power and it comes totally from within your own being, then of course it cannot be taken away from you. So self-power is the only power worth having. And that power is not to control others, it is not to influence others. That power is to help make a difference. That power is to help manifest personal and collective desires. And that's the kind of power that we all have, but it's usually overshadowed by our ego, which is always investing in agency power. Okay, so when you have self-power, there are certain characteristics that go with it. Number one, you're immune to criticism and flattery. Number two, you feel beneath no one. And number three, you are fearless. And number four, you are never solicitous. You're not asking for favors so you can do favors for other people. This is what we can also say true self-esteem. But this self-esteem is also never diminished by trivial and mundane gossip. It's never diminished by using bad language. So a person who has true self-power also is courteous, polite, deferential, respectful, and holds others with high regard. When you have that combination, immune to criticism and flattery, fearless, beneath no one, and at the same time you have courtesy, politeness, respect, deference and good manners, you're on your way to having self-power. And that self-power, because it comes from the deepest level where intention resides and is not overshadowed by ego, that self-power spontaneously organizes itself as what we call the fulfillment of desire, the spontaneous fulfillment of desire. So when intention comes from there, yes, it turns possibilities, which is your very nature, infinite possibilities, it turns possibilities into actualities. Those possibilities are influenced, of course, by past experiences or what we call karma. So even though the ground state is infinite possibilities, what manifests as space-time events are probabilities as a result of our past conditioning. Karen and Rayburn shared the video, and 17 others, thank you. Expand this conversation so we can all expand our awareness. Okay, so now we can say that if you're grounded in being, you have intention, you don't let ego overshadow you, you ground the intention simply by asking, what do I want? What is my purpose? How do I contribute? What am I grateful for? Who am I? Then automatically the self will organize itself from possibility to actuality. This is the best way to manifest your desires. Not by demanding, but by asking, what do I want? What am I grateful for? What is my purpose? What is my contribution? Then consciousness, which is all possibilities, will organize itself into actualities. Forget about particles right now. Okay, because who's seen particles, right? Other than people in hadron colliders and doing expensive experiments. Your life should be an experiment. Be in this moment, be grounded in yourself, get your ego out of the way, ask and receive. That's it. Ask and receive. And stay detached from outcome, because outcome is taking you out of your being, out of yourself. When you have love in your heart, when you have a commitment to something greater than yourself, then self-power organizes itself into actualities, and most important, it can never be taken away from you. Okay. Our consciousness is the field of possibilities, of course, influenced by karma. And what we call objects out there are actually space-time events in our own being, in our own consciousness. Okay, so I hope I've answered your question, Ruth. Self-power is coming from the field of possibilities, and intention is the organizing principle, but intention not with an exclamation mark, intention with a question mark. How can I serve? How can I be useful? How can I love? How can I be more connected? What am I grateful for? How can I contribute? And then that's it. It organizes itself into its fulfillment. Possibilities become actualities. The actualities are situations, circumstances, events, and relationships, not particles. Don't worry about particles. They're abstract mathematical entities that are good for physicists, but don't actually help us with our day-to-day life, which is constantly manifesting from pure potentiality, pure possibility, the immeasurable potential of all that was, all that is, and all that will be. And every situation, every circumstance, every event, every relationship that you have right this moment is coming from you. If the you has been conditioned into the separate mind, then of course there is weakness in that intention. But if you has gone beyond the conditioning and is coming from the free or whole mind, then the intention is very powerful. Okay? So by the way, happy Mother's Day. I did post on Instagram a picture of my parents when I was very little. Maybe I'll post it here as well. But thank you so much for joining me. Remember, we are answering questions from You Are the Universe, discovering your cosmic self and why it matters. And I'm very grateful, as is my co-author Meena Skafatos, for your support and for your engagement right here. Thank you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Happy Mother's Day.